What's good, artists? It's Curtis King of CurtisKingBeats.com here with another Artist Marketing 911. Artists, today we're going to attack the age-old term marketability and whether or not you are marketable. Have you ever asked yourself, am I marketable as an artist? I know many of you are probably looking at me crazy, like, well, what does marketability mean? What does it mean to be marketable? When people are basically saying an artist is marketable, what they're really saying is, does this artist have the ability within their brand to sell to an audience or to have influence over an audience? Now, the way that an artist has influence over an audience comes down to pretty much three different things. One, how does that artist talk? Now, the way that artist talks can be a certain lingo they use, a certain accent they have, a certain slang or a certain twang within their language when they're rapping. That's part of an artist's marketability. Do they stand on the side of controversy? Are they soft-spoken? These are all things that contribute to that artist's marketability. The imagery that is used in photos of that artist, the imagery that is used on the website of that artist, the imagery that is used in a music video of that artist. Do you ever go on Instagram and see somebody and say, man, I know J. Cole directly influenced that haircut that he has right now? And the third thing, which is probably the most important thing, is just the image of that artist. The image, what they're wearing, what they choose to wear, what they don't wear. Do they wear brands or are they anti-brands? These are things that all represent that particular artist's marketability. When I think of whether an artist is marketable, the first thing that I think about is this. I say, does he or she pass the Halloween test? What is the Halloween test? Now, the Halloween test is something that I thought of a few years ago, and it's something that has helped me when it comes to my marketability because all the legends do it. When I think about the Halloween test, I think this. I say, if Halloween were to come tomorrow, could I wear a costume that clearly states and clearly translates to everyone else who I am imitating? Now, if I wanted to be Bryson Tiller for Halloween, what would I wear? I'll probably wear one of these dad caps. I'll wear a lot of dark clothing, probably wear a thin little Jesus piece chain, just anything like that. If I wanted to be Jay-Z, say early 2000s, I would wear an NY fitted cap. Probably would wear a button up. If I wanted to be Tupac, I would have a bandana. I probably would have one of them sleeveless vests that he would wear, the leather vest. I would have the tattoos on me. I would have the Thug Life tattoo across my stomach. These are all things that contribute to that image of that artist that make him marketable. If I wanted to be Lil Wayne, what would I wear? I would have the dreads. I would have the sunshades. I would probably have like a trucker hat. And you would easily be seen as, oh, you're trying to be Lil Wayne. Face tats. If I wanted to be Drake from the Hotline Bling video, I would wear the bubble vest. I would have the fade. I would have the beard. I would have a toothpick. I would have anything that would basically be clearly stating that this is who I am representing right now. If I wanted to be even Lil Yachty, I would have red braids with the beads inside of them. I would have those oval glasses that he chooses to wear. But I hope you're getting the point of what I'm saying is that these artists, though new or legendary or old or young, all understand or have somebody in their team that understands the importance of being marketable and having a clear image that translates that marketability. I know you look around every once in a while and you probably see it a whole lot if you live in LA, but you'll see people basically imitating their favorite artists. I remember back when I was in middle school, girls would wear these big shade glasses and big sun hats, and they were trying to look like J-Lo, and it was very obvious, and nobody said anything about it. Why? Because J-Lo had a huge influence over culture at that point in time. So you have to ask yourself, what is it that you're doing right now that is consistent with creating a sort of image or a sort of marketable trait about yourself that other people can imitate? In other terms, marketability is speaking to your impact on your particular culture. If you're 17 and you're in high school, well, how does the way that you wear your jeans, or how does the way that you wear your hair, or the way that you describe women, how does that way define you? And what subgroup does that represent? When you define these things, you start to understand how you can have influence on another high schooler or somebody else your age, and you start to understand like, oh, this is what makes me marketable. This gives me influence. Your marketability is the same thing that sports fans go crazy for when they're thinking about wearing a cheese head over their head and the Green Bay Packer fans. They are so grand of fans that they will wear a piece of foam cheese over their head to express how diehard they are. Now think to yourself, what trait or what specific thing about you makes you marketable? I mean, think about Fetty Wap and him missing an eye. That's part of his marketability. This is part of the presentation or your introduction to him if you've never met him. This is part of the thing that they use to describe him. This is part of his influence. The fact that he was able to come from adversity and the fact that he was able to come into a business where most people have both of their eyes, and he was able to niche out a particular niche for himself. And he's able to have influence. Just basically doing the music that he wants to do. Everything from his voice, his singing voice, and whether you like it or not, that has influence. That is something that can be imitated. I remember back in the day, Weird Al Yankovic used to make these parodies of everybody. And I used to always look and I say, man, to have a parody be made about you, you have to definitely have a huge impact. Because in order for that parody to make any kind of sense, people have to know who the hell he's even making fun of. So that being said, you have to understand this is the reason why a lot of artists are not marketable and why they avoid it. A lot of artists are afraid. A lot of artists don't want to be looked at as a gimmick. And to be honest with you, to be marketable, it does require a bit of a gimmick. But gimmick doesn't have to be necessarily a bad word. Gimmick is literally the things that separate you from the rest of the herd. There's certain things that you do that are authentic to you, and maybe even a slight exaggeration. Maybe you don't dress in, maybe we know Tupac didn't dress in bandanas every single day, and Biggie didn't wear Coogee sweaters every single day. It's hot sometimes, and you can't just wear that kind of stuff every day. But that being said, it was still an authentic representation of what his brand stood for. So that being said, you may not wear this thing every single day, but if it's something that people identify with you, I even got a homie, Verbs, his red beanie. Everywhere you go, you see this dude in his red beanie. He rides his bikes and he has his red beanie. Yo, that's Verbs. People know instantly. These are things that contribute to your marketability and whether people see you as marketable. Marketability, at the end of the day, separates you from the rest of the herd. Aggressively separates you from the rest of the herd. You got to ask yourself, you wouldn't want anybody to compare your music to anybody else, right? You feel like you're unique. You feel like you bring something very unique to the game musically. Why does the outside appearance of the same music that comes from the same individual, the music that comes from inside this appearance or inside this frame, why doesn't your frame represent the authenticity and the eclectic nature of your music? Those two got to go hand in hand. Marketability is really about bridging the gap between what your music sounds like and what it appears to be and what it looks like. The minute that you're able to bridge that gap, the minute that you're able to find the things that separate you from just the normal dude, the more you start to see your sales increase, your audience increase, the more you start to see people start to sing your praises, and the more you start to see people using your pictures or just using your particular branding, your particular clothing, the more you start to see that you have influence over people. And the more influence you have, the more power you have within your particular market. Look for the things that separate you from everybody else. Stop looking for the things that just easily blend you in if your music is not easily blended in. Now, if your music sounds like everybody else, fine, dress like everybody else. But for you, for the person I'm talking to right now that knows that you are different from the rest of the pack, you got to start tapping into those things that you know separate you from everybody else. You have to start tapping into those things that make you wildly unique. Tapping into those things that make you marketable. These are my thoughts. I would love to hear your thoughts. This has been another Artist Marketing 911, Curtis King of CurtisKingBeats.com.
Play this every morning when you wake up. Oh, gosh told me not to sing on this, but I promise you, I feel like mystical. Hey, come on, let me get this.
Curtis King with 2 S's, beats.com. Curtis King with 2 S's, beats.com.